dump. Because if you go north, you don't get traffic.
I honestly wish I'd gotten this video out a lot sooner. Unfortunately, life just gets in the way sometimes. Sometimes these videos just fall together and I feel like they are just exactly what I was going for, and I'm so excited to share and I can't wait to get them out. And other times it is just a battle, and this one has just been an absolute battle, and I don't know why. I don't make money doing these. I do it for fun. I do it for my children so that they can look back on this and see how far we came and see what Christy and I went through to give them a better life. I do it for Christy and myself so that way we can look back eventually and go, look what we overcame, look what we went through, and look where we are today. It was worth it. And then I do it for you guys so that way you can follow along and share with us in this amazing journey that we're so lucky to be able to take. Our topic has nothing to do with why this was such a battle to make this video. Quite the opposite, actually. We all loved Massachusetts. We all loved Boston. At one point, Christy even turned to me and said, "This might be it." It's not it. We loved Boston. We loved the people there. We loved the history. We loved every part of it. When we left Washington State, there was many reasons why we left. Too many to go into. But I will say this, part of it was we were feeling crowded. We were feeling pushed out of that state. We also felt like we weren't getting enough bang for our buck out of that state. And Massachusetts isn't any different. It was very crowded. The people were wonderful and we loved them. I mean, I don't think we ran into one person that was rude or anything to us, as strange as that sounds. You know, Boston and Massachusetts is a area that you get out of it what you put into it. If you go into it with this misnomer that everyone's a jerk there, of course they're going to be jerks to you, because you're probably being a jerk to them. But I digress. Ultimately, we have decided that I think the Northeast, as of right now, is going to be somewhere where we settle down. Again, that is subject to change, but we love the history and the beauty of the Northeast, and we need somewhere a little less crowded, but we can still get to those. So we're actually working on something really big, and I'm hoping I have more information for you guys soon. We just don't want to count our chickens before they hatch, but this could be pretty exciting if this works out. So we'll see, and we'll definitely keep you posted on that. Now let's get to the topic at hand here. Massachusetts. We started in Plymouth, and of course that's where it all started. That's where the Pilgrims ultimately settled down after landing somewhere else in Massachusetts, and they said that's not going to work, so they went to Plymouth and they landed on the rock and they started the town, and the rest is history. Plymouth Rock was worth seeing. It is a little underwhelming, but it's kind of because history has taken its toll on it. People before they built the big chamber over it that you saw, they would bring rocks and chisels, or not rocks, but rock hammers and chisels, and they would break off pieces of the rock and take them home as souvenirs. So the rock is much smaller than it was when the Pilgrims landed on it. But it was still very, very cool to see. We also went to the Mayflower too, which is a 1-to-1 replica of the Mayflower. It is 100% accurate, minus a couple modern day features that were required to be put there when they built the ship. But it still is a very accurate representation of what these people went through to come here. And it was just humbling, to say the least, to realize that 100+ people, and they weren't even viewed as people on the ship, they were viewed as cargo. So they weren't allowed to go deckside, up top. They were forced to stay in the cargo area of this ship, which was incredibly tiny. And we actually ended up talking to a curator there, because it is a museum. We talked to a curator there who said there is no evidence that they were allowed to go up top for any reason. They were cargo. Other than when they were coming on the ship and when they were exiting off the ship in Plymouth. So that just spoke to us, that they were so fed up with the area that they were in that they loaded up into a tiny little thing and just headed out on a whim of hopefully we'll find something better. And I don't know why, but that completely spoke to me. While we were in Plymouth, we went to a replica of what a Plymouth village would have looked like. Now, it's not in the same spot, because obviously the town is now where the original settlement was, and it's been long lost to history, these buildings and materials and all that. But they have built a very true to history village not far out of Plymouth, where you actually get to go and you walk around, and they have buildings and they have character actors that to them, the character actors, it's the 1600s. They don't know of anything else, and you can try to stump them on questions about the time frame, and they're all on it. And they have some modern day people that are walking around too, and they'll answer more of your modern day questions. But the actors were very, very cool, and really brought you into it, and made you feel like you were in the 1600s in Plymouth. After Plymouth, we loaded up and went out to Cape Cod. Now, originally we weren't going to go out to Cape Cod, but kind of the blessing in disguise with the trailer being down for repairs is we can go places that we wouldn't been able to go with the trailer. Narrow roads, sharp turns, low overhead passes. We're 13 and a half feet tall going down the road hooked up to the truck here with that trailer. And some of these overpasses were like 10 feet tall, so we definitely would not have made it without turning the trailer into a convertible. So we were kind of lucky that we got to see places that we wouldn't have been able to see otherwise, because where our campgrounds were going to be in Massachusetts, it would have been way too far to go out to Cape Cod for the day. And I'm glad we were, because we went out to the beach there and it was perfect. I mean, white sands, there was nobody around. The weather was perfect. Clara got to be off the leash and she got to dig and play and run and swim and have a good time. And the kids got to do the same. Perfect. I'm so glad we got to do it. And while we were out there on Cape Cod, we actually went to a pirate museum, and it was really cool because it was all based around this one ship. I'm not going to try to pronounce the name because I am going to butcher it, but it's not hard to figure out which ship this was. They found it. I believe that it was found in the 70s or 80s, somewhere right around there. I think it might have been the 80s, maybe even the 90s. It doesn't matter. If you really want, look into it. It was cool. But they found this ship, and apparently it's the only actual pirate ship wreck that they found any real treasure in the United States. This was found right off of Cape Cod. The ship went down in some really bad weather, and they had a bunch of treasure on board. And so when you're walking around, and unfortunately they didn't allow us to take video inside of the museum. You know me, I'm not very good with directions and being told no. So I snuck some video, but I'm not gonna abuse it. But there was this big mound of gold in there, and it's the real treasure that they found, and it was just so cool. And I mean, to learn the history of most of these sailors and to realize there was a 9-year-old kid. I mean, that's Samantha's age. This kid ran away from home to join a pirate ship. I mean, how cool is that? Other than the fact that he died when the ship sank. And they have a bunch of artifacts in there. They have a bell, and they have a bunch of pistols that they found, some rifles, some cannons, different things all over. But at the very end, they had this giant. For all intents and purposes, it's a rock, but it's a buildup of materials that happens undersea, and it actually preserves metals and bones and other things. And so they have this big giant rock in there, and inside of it they x-rayed it, and they found part of a crew member and some ammunition and some pistols and some treasure. And they have sprayers that are spraying water on it to preserve it. And definitely, it was a little pricey, but it was definitely cool. After that, we only had a couple days out on Cape Cod, and it was pretty full by the time we went to the beach and went to the Pirate Museum. But we did swing by the John F. Kennedy Park Memorial that's out there. John F. Kennedy, obviously he was from Cape Cod, and he's still a really big thing out there, and it was a nice little tribute to him. Yeah, definitely, if you can, go out there. And the town that it was associated with was beautiful. After that, we actually went out to Boston itself. We actually stayed in Chelsea, which is a little north of Boston. You actually have Chelsea, and then you have Charlestown, and then you have Boston itself. They're all part of Boston, but they're their own little towns, if that makes sense. It's kind of that old world thing. In the day they were pretty far away from Boston, but now, you're a 5-minute car ride. It's really, especially with bridges and all that, it's really not. The other thing about Charlestown is that's where Bunker Hill is, and you may be familiar with the name. It's a battle from the Revolutionary War. It was a strategical loss for the Patriots. But at the end, it was a win for the Patriots because it drew so much attention away from Boston and made the British take so many troops from Boston to come fight at Bunker Hill that it was actually a win for the U.S. at that point. Boston. We got into Boston, and the hotel that we were at had a shuttle that took you from the hotel to the airport, and then you could actually hop on the subway from the airport, and you could go anywhere in Boston for very cheap. I mean, I think round trip for the 5 of us was like $4.48. So I know it's a very exact number, but that's basically what it was. I mean, it was cheap for us to get around there, and it allowed us to see so much of the city. It was just perfect. if you get out there, go follow the Freedom Trail. It's actually a brick path and sometimes a red line that they've painted on the ground. And it'll take you to every historical thing there is to see in the city of Boston. It'll take you to the Old North Church. It'll take you to the burial grounds where people like Sam Adams are buried. It'll take you to where the Boston Massacre happened. It'll take you to Quincy. It'll take you to where the Tea Party happened. It goes on and on and on. I'm not gonna talk your ear off about that. It was just perfect. And you know, I really didn't take much video from the city itself because I wanted to interact with Christy and the kids, and it was so cool to watch them fall in love with a city that I love so much. We did get to see the USS Constitution, Old Ironsides, which is free. So if you're in the area, go out there. That was very, very, very cool to hear the history of that ship and to see it and be on there. And it was just, and I mean, it was probably 4 times the size of the Mayflower. So it was just more of like, this is what I expected the Mayflower to look like. But I digress again. Fenway Park. We went on a tour of Fenway Park, and there was just something so magical being in Boston with the Red Sox in the playoffs. Everybody was high-fiving, and there was just so much hype and excitement from the people there. It was amazing to be able to be a part of that. And you know, there's one point where Christy had the kids in the pool and they were all swimming, and I was you know, watching the game in the lobby where I could see them in the pool and I could still see the game. And you know, a couple of the bus drivers and I were all talking, and I'm wearing my Red Sox stuff, and you know, we're fist bumping and we're talking, high-fiving, and we're just yammering about baseball. And it's just, what more could you ask for, people? I mean, it's my people. And then we went out to Salem, and we were unfortunately a little disappointed with Salem. Maybe it's because it's October. It was very crowded, very commercialized, very expensive to be in that area. And then even then, they don't do a really good job of displaying why that city is so famous. It's the witch city, you know, it's where the Salem trials happen. It's where they killed people for being witches. And, you know, they show them a memorial for the people that were killed. But it's not where they're buried. It's not where they were hung. It's not where the trial happened. It's just the city kind of at random went, this will do. Here it is. You know, if you actually want to go to Proctor's Ledge, you have to try for it. It's not well. It's not just easily accessible. It's actually hidden behind a Walgreens or some kind of drugstore. I don't remember what it was. But you actually there's no parking because it's kind of on a private street there, and there's nowhere for you to park. And the Walgreens or whatever it is has big signs that say no parking unless you're going into the store, basically. And it's just this little tiny offjet of the sidewalk, and they have the names of the people that were all killed and a thing that says Proctor's Ledge, and that's it. We went to the Witch Museum, which again, no video, so I don't have any video of that. But it was worth it. You at least learn the real story of what happened. Definitely worth going to Salem. Probably would be very well off to do exactly what we did. We drove in early in the morning, so that way we could see the town before it got really busy, and we left before it turned into nighttime, because they do their haunted happenings there every night in October, and it just gets crazy busy. I mean, we were getting into Salem, I think about 8 to 9 in the morning, the 2 days we went in there, and between 8 and 11 it was very reasonable. After 11, it just got crazy. I mean, there were lines to get into stores to spend money. There was I mean, you had to have advanced reservations to get anything to eat anywhere. Yeah. So I unfortunately was just kind of underwhelmed by Salem, unfortunately. Maybe it'd be better to visit it not in October, I guess, to be fair. We did actually go, the kids love the movie Hocus Pocus. Of course, Christy and I grew up watching it. So it was very fun to get to show them places that the movie was filmed in. We went by Allison's house, which was, Sam just loved it. We actually went by Max's house, and Sam didn't recognize it at first. It's changed a lot over the years. We ended up going out to the village that they have there, a replica of the Salem village that they have. Unfortunately, they only operate on Saturdays, and we were there on a Tuesday, so we didn't actually get to go in, but that's okay. After looking over the fence, there really wasn't a lot there. So we are actually in Maine right now. We are just outside of Portland, Maine, and there's really not going to be much of a video here for Maine. This is kind of our family time that we're taking to enjoy. We've just kind of sightseed around. We really haven't done a terrible lot here because there's not really a lot touristy to do right now. This state kind of shuts down October, and we're starting to realize that a lot of the restaurants that we've actually looked at going to close at 2 o'clock, not 2 a.m., 2 p.m. Of course, you have your regulars that do stay open, but the state genuinely slows down a lot in October, and there's not terribly a lot to see right now. On top of we're just kind of exploring. Now, with that being said, we have met some really cool people up here, and actually today I ended up talking to somebody that gave us some really good advice for this area and just life in general. And I'm a very firm believer that the universe guides you if you just let it. And for whatever reason, we were meant to be in this small town in the middle of nowhere in Maine on a Friday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon to run into this guy and to talk to him. So maybe that was part of the universe guiding us in a way. I don't know. We'll Jim, if you are watching, thank you for taking the time to talk to me. It was very cool to meet somebody and talk to somebody like that and to get some insight in the state like that. So genuinely, thank you, Jim. That was very nice. Other than that, we're going to keep pressing on. Still no word from the repair shop about an estimated date for the trailer to be done. We have talked to insurance. They have agreed to pay everything minus our deductible. Not to share too much info, but there was about $23,000 in damage done to that trailer from that water line breaking. So thank God for insurance and good insurance that is doing the right thing and covering it and not arguing with anything at this point. So we'll definitely keep you posted on that. And again, as always, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with us. And we're excited for the next part of this journey, whatever that is. But we'll see you next time.